All right, everybody, buckle up, because today we are diving headfirst into the intricate world of spark erosion machining.
Spark Erosion Machining. Now there's a mouthful.
It is, but the RoleCatcher excerpts you sent over have me convinced that this is way cooler than it sounds.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about using controlled electrical discharges, almost like tiny little lightning bolts, to shape metal.
Well, not exactly lightning, but I like where your head's at. I do. It's honestly pretty remarkable stuff.
I bet. So we're talking about designing something super intricate, like, say, the gears in a watch, but instead of cutting away material, you're eroding it away, like atom by atom.
Exactly. It's precision on a whole other level.
Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. Eroded away atom by atom. That's insane. And that's why this tech is so huge in fields like aerospace or even medical devices, right?
You've got it. When you need parts with details smaller than a human hair, and you need those parts to be absolutely perfect, spark erosion is the name of the game.
Wow. I'm picking up what you're putting down. So it uses stuff like transmission and optical microscopy to make sure everything's perfect?
You know your stuff. It's all built into the machine itself, so the operator can check their work in crazy detail every step of the way.
Hold on, microscopes? Are we talking like the ones I used back in high school biology?
Similar idea, but these are on a whole other level of sophistication. Imagine a microscope so powerful it can analyze a piece of metal with nanometer precision, all while it's being zapped by these tiny electrical discharges.
No way. So not only is this spark erosion process completely mind-blowing on its own, the people doing this are basically microscope masters at the same time.
It's true. Spark Erosion Machine Operators are the unsung heroes of precision engineering.
It sounds like it. It really does. No wonder this career guide keeps talking about precision and an eye for detail as top skills.
You can't teach someone to have steady hands and an eye for those tiny, tiny imperfections. Either you've got it or you don't.
So we've got the sparks, we've got the precision, but what does a spark erosion operator actually do all day? Okay, so spark erosion operators, they're like the ninjas of the manufacturing world, right? All about precision and those crazy small details.
There's definitely an element of that, absolutely.
But what does an average day look like? Are they just hunkering down over a microscope all day, zapping metal with tiny lightning bolts?
Well, it's not quite that simple, but the visual is pretty cool, I'll give you that.
Oh, fair enough.
It's a mix of hands-on work and really specialized knowledge.
So, like, what kinds of things are they actually doing with their hands?
You're talking about setting up the machine, getting the workpiece in just the right position, and then fine-tuning all the parameters for the spark erosion itself.
Sounds pretty technical.
It is, but there's also a real art to it. You're basically sculpting with electricity, so you need a delicate touch and an eye for detail that most people wouldn't believe.
I bet. And this whole clean room thing, that's wild to me. Is it really like those labs you see in sci-fi movies?
You'd be surprised. When you're working with parts that tiny, even a speck of dust can ruin everything.
So it's all super controlled.
Absolutely. Especially when you're talking about medical implants or aerospace components, things like that. Everything has to be spotless.
Makes sense. But also, I can't help but think about the risks here. We're talking about a lot of electricity, right?
Yeah.
And even some potentially dangerous fluids, if I'm reading this guide correctly.
That's true. It's not a risk-free job by any means.
So how do they stay safe?
Safety is priority number one in this line of work. Operators go through rigorous training on how to handle dielectric fluids. Those are used to control the sparks, and they wear all the right gear to protect themselves from electrical shocks.
Okay, good to know. It's not just, here's a welding mask, good luck.
Not at all. You're dealing with some serious forces here, so safety is paramount.
So it's challenging, maybe even a little dangerous, but the reward of seeing these incredibly intricate designs come to life must be something else.
Absolutely. There's nothing quite like it. And the career path is clearly laid out. You can start as a junior operator and work your way up to a senior role with more responsibility and eventually even get into management or training.
Okay, so you start in the bottom, but there's room to grow. Speaking of starting out, how does someone even break into a field like this? So spark erosion operators, they're using microscopes, working with crazy precise measurements, basically sculpting with electricity.
It's a pretty apt description, honestly.
But how do you even get started in a field like this? It all seems so, I don't know, exclusive.
I get what you mean, but that's where RoleCatcher comes in. They've got this whole platform designed specifically for these kinds of specialized jobs.
Yeah, the guide mentions RoleCatcher a lot. And honestly, their stuff sounds seriously impressive.
They're doing some really innovative things. Like, remember how we were talking about attention to detail being super important?
Yeah.
Well, RoleCatcher actually analyzes your CV for those kinds of skills, the ones that really matter to these high-end employers.
That's wild. So it's not just a regular job board.
Oh, it's way more than that. It's like having a personal recruiter who knows the ins and outs of the Spark Erosion world.
That must be so helpful. Because trying to navigate the job market on your own, it can feel like you're just sending your resume off into the void.
I hear you. And that's just one piece of it.
Yeah.
They also have this whole interview prep section that blew my mind.
Oh, yeah, the 120,000 interview questions thing, right?
That's the one.
That's a lot of questions.
It is, but they're not just random questions either. They're designed to really test your knowledge of Spark Erosion machining. Like, what? Give me an example.
Okay, so one of the questions they highlight in the guide is, describe your experience with dielectric fluids and their role in the spark erosion process.
Wow, that's a whole essay question.
Exactly. It's about showing that you really understand the nitty-gritty, not just that you can parrot back some basic facts.
So it's about proving you're the real deal.
Precisely. And it's not just about getting the job either. RoleCatcher is really big on continuous learning, which I know is something you guys talk about a lot.
Absolutely. Our listeners are all about constantly leveling up their skills.
And that's what's so cool about this. The manufacturing world is always changing, new tech, new techniques, so staying ahead of the curve is key.
So they help you even after you've landed the job. That's the idea. They provide resources, updates, all sorts of stuff to help Spark Erosion operators stay at the top of their game.
So it's really about investing in your career long term, which is awesome. And to top it off, the guide also mentions that these skills can translate to other fields, like CNC machining.
That's the thing. Once you've mastered something as specialized as Spark Erosion, you've got a really valuable skill set.
Makes sense. So you're not pigeonholed into one specific job. You've got options.
Exactly. And in a world that's all about automation and precision engineering, those skills are only going to become more in demand.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've gone from tiny sparks to a whole world of career possibilities in just a few minutes.
It's amazing what you can do with a little bit of electricity and a whole lot of precision.
That's the truth. So if you're the kind of person who loves to tinker, who gets excited about the idea of building something incredibly intricate, and who isn't afraid of a challenge, Spark Erosion Machining might just be your calling. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those sparks flying.